Welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And it's November. Hello to all our listeners everywhere. And first of all, we just want to give a happy 97th birthday to Howie Meeker. 97. Wow. He's the oldest living Toronto Maple Leaf. So happy birthday. And I don't know, Sil, I'm sure you remember too, watching him on Hockey Night in Canada. Doing the intermission game analysis.
I associate him greatly with those baby blue jackets.
Yeah. Him and Bob Goldham. I remember Bob Goldham too. They kind of interchanged. But yeah, it was. It's his 97th birthday today, so that's really cool. And yeah, it's November, and I was actually going to say it was getting cold, but now we're into this heat wave a little bit. It's kind of strange. I don't know. I was wearing my winter coat yesterday, and today it's like I have like a short sleeve shirt on, and yeah. So there's no hockey. I'm missing hockey, and I guess I can notice it more because on the radio and on TV, I'm noticing like a lot of these programs, they're like interviewing like hosts from other shows on their same network. So like on TSN, for example, they're like Andy Petrillo will be on Overdrive in the afternoon. So I'm like, okay.
Wow. So they're scraping the barrel a little bit for content.
Yeah. So
just like us. No, we're not scraping the barrel. We got lots to talk about.
We got lots. We just have to be here. We know we're the most important people here. So but I mean, the last time the Leafs played was August the 9th. So that seems like so long ago, and it only lasted,
especially now that the weather's changing, like it just feels like forever. Like even since the Stanley Cup was hoisted, it feels like so long ago already, and it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. But, and for our season anyways too, it only lasted the 1 week, the qualifying round. So I don't know. Anyways, I guess it's making me, this is like spring weather now, so it's making me forget about it a little bit, but I'm sure by next week the cold weather will be back and then it's back to missing hockey. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really kind of felt it acutely the other day as well. And I just, it's not even the fact that there's no hockey. It's somehow the fact that hockey is missing, and I'm not much of a football fan, but I do like other sports, but it's like a chasm of no sports right now at all. Like there's nothing. Yes. There's no baseball. There's no basketball. It makes it just all that much worse because there's just nothing really to watch or listen to that I'm interested in. I actually watched some NFL football, and I haven't done that for years. And I usually reserve that just for like the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Yeah. But I mean,
well, we can always be watching Joe Biden and Donald Trump, right?
I did that.
The entertainment.
I did that a little bit too late, I might mind you, because I worked late last night and I got home and I stayed up watching way too much of that and giving my time and energy to it. That was a huge mistake. Anyway, moving on to what we're going to cover though in this episode, there is some Leaf talk still, of course. So we have a couple of player signings to discuss. Ironically, after we posted our last episode, Mikheyev signed like right after that. So
it's always like that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Mikheyev and Dermott, of course. We'll check in on the line combinations that we hope to see for the start of next season. We'll do a little bit of a league update, so where we're at with the NHL and the AHL and the return to play for the new season. And we'll also discuss some memories of Maple Leaf Gardens. Opening night was November 12th, 1931, so that's 89 years ago. So without any further ado, let's get on with our show.
All right, so as Sil was saying, the Leafs went ahead and got actually 3 signings they got, but the main 2 signings that we were waiting for were Mikheyev and Dermott. So Mikheyev thankfully did not go to arbitration because they can get pretty nasty sometimes when it's just like a courtroom apparently that these arbitration cases are in. And he signed a 2-year contract. Thankfully, I think it was the day before. He was supposed to go to arbitration, and it's at $1.645 million per season. And that would take him to UFA status at the end of the 2021-22 season. So he apparently, I thought this was funny, he's over in Russia still, and apparently stayed up all night waiting to sign the contract because from what I heard, he didn't want to go to this arbitration. So I don't know if it's probably more his agent, that Dan Milstein, that thought to go through with this. But he wanted to get this contract signed. So he stayed up all night and signed it at like 2-3 in the morning, apparently. And Mikheyev also apparently said that he just wanted to get the deal done and nobody get traded. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of cute the way he wanted to come back. And I also heard too that he wanted, apparently the KHL, there was KHL teams that were calling him as well. So yeah, but I think it's good. I'm hoping like he played so well during, like, everybody was so high on him. Everybody's talked about this in the training camp before the qualifying round, that he was like their top player. He won, I guess the team basically players said that he awarded him some sort of internal kind of little trophy to say they thought he was the best player in the camp. And then during the playoffs, he just wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. But
well, I think part of that could be just coming off the injury. It's like one thing, being in the scrimmages and having fun with that and pushing yourself that way. But then like going into like that kind of like high intensity hockey without a ramp up, really, it probably was like a little bit of a shock, I think. And that's what it looked like to me. Like the way he was playing, he was just so invisible at times. I kind of felt like he looked sort of in shock. Like he's just like, doesn't really know what to do with himself. So I think that it's the layoff showed in that transition that he couldn't just take what was going on in camp and move it into that scenario. So yeah. Anyway, but I think it was good value though. Oh, yeah. For sure. We got him at though. Yeah, so
see what happens with him. And
also next we got Dermott signed, which was a good thing. And this one is interesting as he signed a 1-year deal. So we really thought that he would maybe go more for a bridge, but also for very good value at $874,125 to be exact. So this takes him to RFA status, but with arbitration rights at the end of this season. So yeah. What did you think of this signing, Chris?
That $125 at the end, I wonder what difference that's going to make in the salary cap.
$125,000. It's yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But obviously, if it's that precise, that specific, you got to figure there's a reason for it. Yeah. So,
but no, I mean, with Dermott, we've talked about this a little bit before, but the guy, he's 23 years old. He's going to be 24 in December, so next month. Mm-hmm. So he's getting to that age, if not already, where as a defenseman, like we should start to see what we have here, like in him as a player. He definitely has the offensive upside, and he's pretty dependable on the back end too, on the defensive side. So like that's extremely, like the value of it is going to be great. I mean, it's really going to be good for him if he can have a standout season that we all expected last season after Gardner leaving and getting, I think everybody just thought he would jump right in there and get all the, get the extra ice time. But then that injury set him back. And then the whole thing, I guess with Babcock being the coach, Dermott seems quite friendly with Sheldon Keefe. He's always referring to him as Kiefer. It's almost like it's not coach, it's Kiefer. So I mean, I have, again, it's a 1-year deal too. So I definitely think though it's going to be a big positive for the player, assuming he can, assuming he can bring to the table what we all think he has. So yeah.
Well, it's definitely show me what you got deal.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. And then the next thing we got is Michael Hutchinson. Wow.
That was a funny day on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just like, what? That's basically what I wrote on Twitter. So I think on behalf of both of us. And then I was like, and then of course, Leaf Twitter explained that basically we need the protection at the goalie position since Aaron Dell will have to pass through waivers if he were to be assigned to the Marlies. So, and also to do with the expansion of the Seattle Kraken. So he apparently will be eligible, to be exposed at the draft. So at the expansion draft. So right. That's
and this is a 2-way deal. So like he can be moved up and down.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's the difference there. So
yeah, and So I mean, it's not that bad technically, because if you look at it, he did actually make it to the 3rd round of this year's playoffs with Colorado,
and he played some significant minutes in that round.
Well, he won 2 games,
obviously, because I know, and because of the fact that their goalies both got hurt. So he, did show up pretty well for them during that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but ultimately, I guess it's really this is all about protection, depth in the goalie position. That's what it's about. So Dubas basically assigned all the main players, the key players that needed to get signed. And we're slightly over the cap now. So there will have to be some player movement somehow. Like, even though they say, at least I've been hearing anyways from Dubas and that nobody's going to be moved, but they're going to do something else, probably just shifting around, whether it be a trade or whether it be through if the AHL actually plays, which we'll get into later on. But Dubas said also that they're possibly going to go with the league minimum 20-man roster. Right now we have the maximum roster size of 23, but we're over the cap. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. He basically has everything covered, though, at least for now. And then we're gonna see how it goes. And yeah, and then with this roster, it's gonna be interesting actually to see what Sheldon Keefe does with this roster. So let's get into what Sil and I think of line combinations going into next season. And I want to say, before we get into it too, I want to say we did not compare notes here in the beginning, right? So we might have some agreements or disagreements. I don't know. So anyways, we'll see how it goes. So Sil, I'm going to let you go first.
No.
Or do you want me, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right.
You go first.
Okay. I got it all set here. So I'm going back to the original season with Matthew. I'm considering it the top line is always Matthews. And I'm putting Hyman and Nylander on his wings. I just think that first season that they had is the rookie season, that there's something still there. And I just don't think that Matthews and Marner, as much as they want to play together, yes, they did well last season, being together most of the time once Keefe took over. But I just see it more with Nylander and on the right wing and Hyman on the left. So I'm going that with Matthews' line. And then I'm putting Tavares with Marner and Mikheyev, which is the line that was from not this past season, but 2 seasons ago, I guess, where JT and Marner had real good chemistry then. So I'm sure they'll get it back. And assuming Mikheyev comes back from the wrist injury and he gets a little bit more confidence playing more games, I think they'll be good. And then these third and fourth lines, I don't know about you, Sil, but this really, it's really messed me up. It's going to be combinations all the time. But for now, I'm going to go with Kerfoot at center with VC and Simmons on the wings. And I'm really going with the Kerfoot VC thing to say if they can get back that chemistry that they had when they played at Harvard in the U.S. college program. If they can't get it done, then there's going to be some shifting around, definitely. And then the last line, forward line, and this is basically why I didn't really like doing that third line that way. But anyways, I put Thornton with Spezza and Barabanov. I didn't like it so much because having the two older statesmen there in the same line, they're not the quickest anymore. And I thought about Robertson, but then I thought you can't put Robertson because he can't be playing just fourth line minutes. For a 18, 19-year-old kid, like he needs to play. And if he's not going to play, I don't know, that's a predicament that Sheldon Keefe and Dubas are going to have to try and figure out. So that was my fourth line. I'm also missing Engvall because his salary is too much, I think. And I think most of what I've read as well, he's getting paid at $1.25 million for the 2 years. So it's just too much to include him to stay under the cap. And then with Barabanov, I know nothing about actually seeing him play, but from what I read, like he's a bit of an older guy at 26 years old, and he's highly skilled winger, and I guess he's already here in Toronto, which makes me excited to know that at least he wants to be here, and he's getting ready to play in the NHL. So, and like he's won bronze at both the World Juniors and the World Championship, so he knows how to win. Yeah, so that's my forward lines. So why don't you go with your forward lines and then we can see if.
Well, mine's not that much different than yours. My notable difference is that I had Marner on the top line with Matthews and Hyman,
okay.
And I do think that, like, I do agree with you that Tavares and Marner did have really good chemistry. But I found Nylander and Tavares also clicked well, and Nylander has actually had more offense, I think, with Tavares than he does with Matthews. So I thought it was better for Nylander as far as getting the most out of him. But I think that Mitchie and Matthews, they play so much together, the like all their stuff, like right, on in the warm up and stuff, how they're the last on the ice together. I think that I do like that combination. So I would start with that. That doesn't mean that Nylander and Mitch are not interchangeable on the wing for either of those two lines. I think if anybody's going to be moving up or down, it's probably those two. Flip-flopping.
Yeah, like even
periodically, to get the most out of these guys,
yeah,
right?
Like even Mikheyev, I think technically could go possibly down depending.
Yeah, so he can go down to the third line too. So I had him starting with Tavares and Nylander.
Yeah.
Again, this bottom six really, there's so much that could be done with that. And I do think that they're going to be playing with that a lot, and there's some versatility there. I actually had Kerfoot on the wing with Thornton and VC. And but I see what you said too. So but
it really depends on what happens in the training camp and these guys. Yeah.
And I do see Simmons also as a person that can move up to the third line.
Yeah.
Depending, like if he's as healthy as he is, as he says he is, he's somebody that could be moved up also. And he's probably going to be getting second power play
for sure,
minutes as well.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's a person too that like you want to see something maybe a little bit different, he could move all the way up potentially.
Yeah.
Depending on who they're playing against. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, like that bottom 6 was sort of giving my brain fits a little bit, like as what to do. Like,
there's just so many, so many possibilities. Yeah. And they're all hungry. Like we talked or you talked a lot about in the last episode, how hungry these players are to prove that, like last season, wherever they were with whatever team, that if they didn't perform well or it didn't go their way, they're all out there. They got this chip on their shoulder sort of thing to prove. So I don't know, that it's going to be very interesting, but yeah, we're similar. And I went with the, Bear Banoff. I won't call him a kid because he's 26 years old, but and he's only signed for 1 year too. So
he's got to play.
So I'm thinking they're going to give him a chance. And then Pierre Engvall is basically, unless he's going to be an extra, somebody that could be traded. Yeah.
But like, I don't see anything happening as far as roster moves until we're kind of either just on the brink of the season starting or a little bit in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's get into the defense then, and I'll give you my pairings. It's not really, I don't think it's anything out of the world or whatever I think it's, but so I started off with Riley and TJ Brody. Obviously, I mean, everybody, I think that's obvious to everyone that they're probably going to start together at first, and then there was talk about Brody maybe playing with Muzzin, but for now, my choice is to put him with Riley on the top pairing. Then I went with Muzzin and Hall, which is, I mean, we know obviously them. They've played together for about a season and a half, maybe, and then the final pairing is the interesting one. So I put Lettinen and Dermott. So, but I have Bogosian that I think will be in there as well. He's kind of the extra. He's going to be the 7th defenseman, and he's going to be pushing, really depending on how this Mikko Lettinen plays. Because again, none of us have actually watched him, except for I've seen him on Twitter, basically on clips of people that have the KHL subscription that I want. That they're watching games, but he's basically Lettinen won the best defenseman in the KHL last season, but everybody says like the KHL is not the NHL, right? So you got to see what he brings when he comes here. But then interesting though, last week, actually on the 23rd October, he plays with the Finnish team Jokerit in the KHL, and 4 team members tested positive for COVID, and he was not in one of their games. He was not playing, so the team still played by the sounds of it, but he was not included. So I'm wondering if he was one of those players. Nobody, or one of those team members, because nobody really said who it was, or I guess they're not allowed to. I don't know the rules over there in the KHL. But and then on October 29th, they said 12 players tested positive, or 12 team members tested positive. So they did actually come back on the weekend. They played their first game. Jokerit did, but yeah. So hopefully he's okay. And once he does come back into the KHL, that he'll continue his good play, because he was racking up the points over there. But yeah, what did you got on defense?
I pretty much have the same as you.
Yeah.
So I think that obviously makes the most sense. I guess Bogosian is going to be one of those guys that is sort of in and out of the lineup, and it'll be sort of dependent on, kind of who we match up against that night. And
yeah.
I think he's obviously there for depth, and we know players get injured, and so we'll see how they decide to utilize everybody. But again, they went out and they got a guy like Lettinen, and he's either going to be what I think will happen, depending on what goes on with the season, which we're going to discuss next probably, he's either going to be here this year or they're going to leave him to play in the KHL for the rest of the season. So if that happens, that he stays in the K, then probably Bogosian will get more
for sure.
regular minutes.
Yeah. And then Dermott will move over to the left side, but I can't see that happening. They seem to be very high on him, and he seems to be a good player. I mean, I can't see it being that much of a drop off once he comes to the NHL, like to say that he's crap.
Yeah, I don't even think it would be anything like that. It could be just even, the way the season rolls out.
Yes.
As far as what's going to be better for his development. Like, is it going to be worth it for him to come for, a shortened season, as far as acclimating and stuff goes, so I think there's a lot of factors involved with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I mean, he's on a really good clip right now. He's having success.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's something to be said for not interrupting that. Like, if he is on a clip where potentially Jokerit could, win the championship, is it worth it to pull him from that for a weird kind of season that we're going to potentially have here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like it when you said Jokerit and I said Jokerit.
Yeah.
You're more Finnish than me, maybe putting on the... I should learn.
Anyways.
It's not the joke. Even though they have a Joker on there. I was looking at their logo with the Joker. They actually have like a little Joker on their logo.
Oh, that's cute.
I thought it was kind of cute. Anyways, moving on to goal.
Yeah.
This is, again, it's pretty obvious. Freddie Anderson is the number one. Yay, we love Freddie. We've been going on about Freddie for forever, basically. He's our guy.
Well, to be fair, you mostly.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Freddie's your guy.
He's my guy. I should have got his jersey. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's still time.
Yeah.
You might get some good deals on right now, actually.
I wonder. Yeah, but it might be bad luck, though, again. I always have bad luck.
Yeah, I know you're worried about that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. Your Wendell jersey, you had good longevity with that.
Yeah, that was a different era, though. So, anyways.
True.
All right, so Freddie's number one, and I'm going with, even though I actually think Aaron Dell is going to push Jack Campbell quite a bit. I think Jack Campbell is going to win out for the backup position. And I think it's really good to get Aaron Dell that we got him, because he played 33 games with the Sharks and he played pretty well. He's no slouch. So, and I am worried that he's going to have to clear waivers, and I am worried a bit, but that other teams might pick him up, and that there might be the possibility there if he was to be sent down to the Marlies, assuming there is an NHL or an AHL season. But yeah, I mean, I basically had the same pairing from once Jack Campbell came over from us in February. And who did you have? Did you have the same?
Oh, it's the same.
I figured that.
I don't
goal is pretty easy.
Yeah.
See, you love Freddie too.
I do love him. But I mean, it's no contest really.
Yeah.
So
well, it's going to be interesting though. Let's say if he doesn't sign, let's say if he leaves it to he goes through the season and he just doesn't want to be bothered with the whole contract distraction sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, Jack Campbell in his mind, he should be thinking, who knows, maybe he could be a number one, right? For us next season. I mean, much as I don't like to really promote that, but you got to think of that too, sort of thing, right? Maybe the games that he gets into, if he can play at least half of the games or close to half of the games to give Freddie some of the rest. And if he plays really well, maybe that'll be good for us. I don't know.
Do you think there's any chance that if we do get into the season that, close to the trade deadline, whenever that might be, that they would move Freddie? Do you think they would do that?
Only if we're out of it. Totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only, and I can't see that happening. And then we don't even know which we'll get into in a bit, but we don't even know. I mean, if there's that all Canadian division, we don't even know how it's going to go. It's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we don't even know if it's going to be the same. But anyways, I just wanted to point out to our listeners too, if they go to our website on buzzsprout.com and they can actually see the links and to some of the, I guess, reference material that we use for our podcast. And there's a couple of good ones there with the line combinations and that if they want to check it out, like to say like other people's opinions sort of thing, including ours. But
yeah, we put those all the links in our show notes, so they're always available if you want to check out the articles and things that we've been reading that it kind of inform our points of view.
Yeah. And so
and that does show up too if you go on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, it does.
They're there too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right. Cool. Sil teaches me all these things about technology. Anyhow,
so let's move along to the league update. So let's talk a little bit about how a season may come to fruition, or if it will. So right now, as it stands, they're looking to start January 1st, but in reality, we can't really see this happening considering the players also get the Christmas break. And if they want to fit in a couple exhibitions games and stuff, there's not enough time for that unless January 1st is when they're planning to open. And that will be kind of when exhibition or preseason starts, something like that. They've already postponed the Winter Classic, which happens on New Year's Day, and the All-Star Weekend for this year. So basically, there's still a lot to be worked out.
Yeah.
So
there's
what do you think, Chris, as far as, where we're at?
Personally,
what's kind of next?
After reading through some stuff, I actually think it's going to be back to like the 2012-13 lockout season. It's going to be a 48 game schedule. Let's just hope with not the same result that we had that year. But they started on January 19th and the season ended April 28th. So
that actually could work.
I'm thinking it's going to be like that. And maybe even a week later into January, like towards the end of January, and maybe a little bit into May, like a week or so, give or take. The Stanley Cup that year was awarded on June 24th.
So that's in line with the regular, and actually that would work to kind of bring everything back in line with like a more normal season.
Yeah. And I just think they're gonna do it that way. I know that, and then the playoffs would be normal, the traditional 16 team format.
Right. But don't you think there's some desire for them to have the play-in format? Like I've actually heard sort of rumblings about that they kind of liked how that sort of added a little bit of excitement, so that if they do this shortened season, that they would add that.
I don't know, because they're also, even though the NHL is saying, Bill Daly, I think, was saying they don't really care about the Summer Olympics, but the longer you have it going in, like the Summer Olympics are supposed to start July 23rd. So, I mean, there is still a little bit of time if you wanted to add that extra playoff or qualifying round into it. And they might have to do that too if they decide to go with this all Canadian division too, because I'm hearing that having that all Canadian division is gonna cause some ramifications, I guess, when it comes to like the teams that make the playoffs. Like they can't because we have all Canadian teams in this one division, so that you're basically eliminating half. Yes,
potentially,
right away, sort of thing. So
exactly.
So if they do go with that, then I can see maybe.
And then Buffalo gets in. You can't have that.
You don't want Jack Eichel to get in for once? You don't feel bad for Jack?
No, I do not feel bad for Jack.
Yeah. But I thought it was quite funny. This Bill Foley of Vegas, he had some interesting comments about, he's the one basically that came out with the idea that they they are actually looking at this all Canadian division, which got us all excited, or at least it got me excited. I don't know. Are you excited about it?
Well, I am, because, one of the things that crossed my mind is, where can we still travel freely?
Oh, true. Yeah.
Canada. So, hello.
Yeah.
There's potentially a road trip possibility available to us.
Yeah, that's so, right. As long as the people in Quebec, between Ontario and Quebec, we got to get our act together here.
Yeah. Yeah, because true, they may not let us go anywhere else in Canada, but
I also love it. I think the Habs Leafs rivalry I don't know, it's just been gone for a while. Like, it used to be so, like, Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, like, there's no place you wanted to be except for either there or like in front of the TV when the Habs and the Leafs are playing. But I don't know, lately it's last few years it's kind of lost the luster.
I would say yes, it's fallen a little.
Yeah, and with the exception of Max Domi for the last year, I guess, which he's not there anymore, making his dumb comments. But but anyhow, yeah. So I think that's gonna bring it back. I'm not so worried about the whole Ontario rivalry, Battle of Ontario, because it's not really a Battle of Ontario. I don't get excited. And then I thought it was funny this morning on the radio, they were talking about how in Vancouver, like they think the Leafs and the Canucks have a rivalry, like the Vancouver fans, but
no, like
we don't.
They have a rivalry with us.
Leafs Nation.
It's a one-way rivalry.
Yes, yeah. So maybe that'll help us feel the same way as our Canucks fans, right? But yeah. So I don't know. I do like the idea of that all Canadian division. So we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, so otherwise, right now the NHL has set up the or I guess they got to set up for a return to play committee of league and player representatives, even though they haven't gotten together yet, but they're supposed to in the next week or so.
I think it's supposed to be next week or so.
Yeah, so there's actually going to be 13 players on the committee.
I know they greatly expanded it. So
there was only 5 before, and I guess obviously it's because more teams are those poor teams that haven't played since March. It's going to be like almost a year since like teams like Detroit and other teams that haven't played in such a long time. Buffalo, obviously, but yeah. So another league though that we'll just touch on a bit is that we shouldn't forget about is the American Hockey League. I was listening to a interview with Scott Housen of the AHL CEO and president, and so they announced last week that they're aiming for February 5th as a season start. But it is a bit different for these AHL teams. Some of the teams are not owned by the NHL teams, like we own the Marlies, but it's not necessarily the case there's 12 teams that are independently owned. And those 12 teams, they obviously have more concern about the gate revenue. Like that's basically their source of revenue is to have fans in the building. So they're looking at several possibilities, and they're hoping for all 31 AHL teams to be involved in the new season, but there's no guarantee of that. So yeah, we'll see. But they're huge for development in the of NHL players, and they've had a long history with the NHL. So yeah. So
well, I would hope that the NHL could at least do something to kind of help prop them up, even if it's like a loan or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They have talked
because like you said, it is like huge for development, and there's players that if they're not playing in the NHL on the big club, they need a place to play.
Yeah,
they can't just sit out. They can't be in a taxi squad because that's not. It's fine for like, a knee jerk, last second, we need to do something. Yeah. But for like a season to not be playing meaningful games at all is not good for anyone.
Yeah.
And in that regard, like you could look also at the OHL. That's a huge piece too, because a guy like Nick Robertson, for example, it's crucial for the development of him and kids like him because he can't play in the AHL.
Right. Yeah.
So he can only play on our team or back in the OHL. So if he's not going to get enough development on the big club or be playing enough meaningful minutes, like you said, like he can't be a fourth line player. I mean, there's lots of people that say he's not going to get any more out of playing in the OHL, but at least there he'll be playing regular minutes, and making an impact on a team. So, you could say that he's not going to develop much more as a player, but it's probably better for him to be there than be on a taxi squad for our team or just playing, fourth line minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, no, there's lots of things.
So much.
Lots of things to consider here. So before let's hope they start. I mean, Gary Bettman. Going back to the NHL, like apparently there are some owners saying that even for the NHL, they've been lobbying Bettman to say that they should cancel the season if there is no fans in the building, like regardless of, because like Bettman was saying about how they may start off with no fans and then gradually introduce fans or whatever, as long as obviously all the rules are followed and it's allowed. But Bettman or some of the owners, they basically just flat out are saying if there's no fans at all to start, like just forget it. Well,
I could see that because I could see some of the owners, even if you have no fans in the building, there's still a lot of things that you have to have covered for facilities and stuff, right? So there's more people that you have to pay, whereas you could keep people laid off longer if you just shut it all down.
Yeah.
You don't have to maintain things. You don't have to pay to keep the ice in. All of those things that cost money, especially like I can imagine these are places like Carolina or whatever, Florida that don't want to spend the money on that kind of thing, right? If they don't have to.
Bettman basically has responded that the NHL cannot lose a season as it's too damaging to the brand in the long term. As they learned this from the previous lockouts, like they obviously missed the 2004-05 season, totally was canceled because of the lockout. Right. So I guess there's obviously other things to consider, I guess, by not having a season. I mean, us as fans, I know for me anyways, I want them to get something in. And if it's that 48 game schedule, I'm fine with that. We did that the last time and it's just, I just can't picture going through the whole winter. Oh God, like the dull days of January and February with nothing to watch. Like, I don't know. But
well, I would say too that like if other leagues are going to start, so if the NBA comes back, you can't shut down.
Yeah.
Not when your competition is finding a way to do it, and a lot of them use the same facilities. So that makes zero sense in my mind. If the NBA is back, we should be also back because a lot of them have the shared space. So, and I know that obviously there's different things involved there, but it doesn't make any sense to me. If one is starting, then the other one should be able to find a way to make it work also.
Yeah. But yeah. So anyhow, let's go on to our next, actually, the big date coming up, right?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about history and a very special anniversary that's coming up. So the very first game that was played at Maple Leaf Gardens, that happened on November 12th, 1931, which is 81 years ago.
No, 89.
89. Sorry, 89 years ago. Yeah. The Leafs faced the Chicago Blackhawks, and sadly, we did lose that game 2-1. But Maple Leaf Gardens was a very special place, and we had so many great memories, and so many not so great memories also. But even then, we happen to make them a little bit better.
Yeah.
But obviously, times have changed. We used to have these small paper tickets that the ticket taker would just take and rip up. And like now, like the tickets are so fancy and commemorative, like we want to save them all. But I mean, even then when they had started to get nicer tickets, they would rip them and be like, oh,
I remember
it was painful.
That,
But, the other thing is the relationships that were built there. And it was like a very family atmosphere. We got to know so many people when we watched games there, from the ushers to the concession stand workers to diehard Leaf fans like us that we still keep in touch with. Anyways, it was a very, very special place. And
there's
a lot of really good memories.
Yeah, no, so. I remember lining up around the building for regular season and playoff tickets because they weren't available by phone. There was no computers at the time. Basically, the way you found out about tickets going on sale for the Leafs was through the newspaper, whether it be the Toronto Sun or Toronto Star. They would take out a big full page ad telling you to go down to the gardens. And I'd be down there at 6 a.m., standing in line all day. And thankfully, I actually did get tickets when I did line up. There was never a time that I actually got to the box office where there was no tickets left. Because basically, if you got there and there were no tickets left and you stood out there for 5 hours or however long, you were out of luck, basically, right? So those were fun. And you got to stand in line and talk to people, and people would save your spot, and you'd go and run across the road to that Golden Griddle or run down the street if you wanted to get some food for a hamburger or something like that.
Because even then, back then, we didn't have a Tim Hortons on every corner.
No. So, but the two things I always wanted were when I went to a game, I always wanted the game day program, and I liked every year to get the calendar. So these were big souvenir items for a lot of fans at the time. But I still miss that they don't exist anymore. These things, they have the yearbook, which is $20 or something. At least, I don't know. I just think you could give for $5 was the most I think that we paid at the Gardens. I was looking through some of the programs that I had bought from there, and I think $5 was the most. I still think that they could do something, even if it's maybe not as. They were pretty thick, the game day programs there, because they covered a lot, but then they had a lot of advertising too. But yeah, I like that, and I like the calendar, and even here at Scotiabank Arena, they used to give out the magnetic schedule, which I thought was okay as well, but now they don't give you nothing, right? And I'm just I know,
and in other places that we've gone, they still do give out something I think in Chicago, they gave out at least just a little bit of not a huge program, but even just the game day rosters.
Yeah.
So
either the rosters or there was a little booklet in Chicago, I remember, and even in Detroit too. Right. Their original 6 teams. I don't know. I don't understand. And it's another way for MLSE to make money. So why wouldn't they want to do that, right?
You could sell ads. I guess they kind of feel like it ends up being litter in a lot of cases when you just give these things out. But to me, though, if they want to do it digitally, why can you not make a bigger deal out of game day? Where the people who have tickets to the game, because I know they're moving a lot of these things digitally. Why can they not do some sort of digital game day, either, program, page, something that, kind of makes a little bit a bigger deal out of the day. And
for sure. And now with these, we were saying with our line combinations, the bottom 6, there's going to be so many players interchangeable. We're not going to know who's going to be in the lineup every night. We're going to need a lineup card.
Yeah. So I see that there is definitely room for some creativity there as far as different things that they could do.
Yeah.
Just because you're not actually handing something out doesn't mean you can't hand out something digitally or use your platform. Use the app to do something a little bit, more special for the game, because that's actually something that a fan from home can appreciate too. So adds to their game day experience, I think.
So we're going to post a couple of pics. I actually pulled out the 50th anniversary of Maple Leaf Gardens, the calendar. So we're going to post a couple of pictures on November 12th on social media. So be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Our handle is at LTL 1917. It's pretty cool, actually. The calendars then were quite large during the 1981-82 season. But I always had to get the program. So I had more than just this one. My mother was very happy when I went by there recently to collect some of the stuff there, memorabilia that I had from back in the day. But Maple Leaf Gardens definitely something we have both like we love the place, and we miss it, both of us.
Mm-hmm. And so another couple, just a little bit of tidbits. Since we have been talking about how much we miss sports and hockey and our beloved Leafs, if anybody out there that is listening to us is interested in entertainment other than the Leafs, here's a way that you could combine it. I don't know if all of you have heard that Brendan Shanahan was on a new podcast called Smartless with Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes. Anyways, he just had an episode on their show because I guess him and Will Arnett particularly are pretty tight. But he also had a connection with Jason Bateman that I had no idea. Anyways, it was very interesting. He kind of lets his hair down a little bit. But it was great to hear him on that. So if you're looking for something to fill your Leaf time with, you give that a listen. Another important date that we have to note coming up in November, of course, is Remembrance Day. So we want to say thank you to our veterans, the men and women currently serving country overseas who have made the ultimate sacrifice to give us the freedom that we enjoy here in Canada. And of course, the Leafs have a long history with the military, going back to Conn Smythe, who is the builder of Maple Leaf Gardens. And so that also is something we need to keep in mind and celebrate this month. And as always, we want to give a shout out to some of our listeners. So this year we're focusing on our listeners in the States, and we hope that you're all doing okay today.
We're sweating it out with them as well.
Yes, we are. So Norton Shores, Michigan, Clifton, New Jersey, Mountain View, California. We see you, we appreciate you, and we thank you so much for your support. So keep listening to us and send us your feedback if you like. You can, as Chris said, follow us on all of our social media platforms. And also, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us on our email at ladiestalkinleafs@gmail.com.
And if you also, we hope you'll enjoy our show. We're pretty sure everyone likes us. And we want, basically, we've joined this website is Ko-fi.com or coffee.com. And so the way they promote it is to buy us a coffee and help us out. If you like the show, you can go to Ko-fi.com and you can make a donation using our handle is LTL 1917 again. So you can find the link on our website and on our social media as well. So hopefully, I don't know. I just want hockey to be back soon. That's all.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll talk to you in December.
Bye.
See you later.